Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and today's Saturday special. Hello and welcome back. Quarterlight, if you don't know, we're a car brochure channel. We look at car brochures 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Today, however, is your Saturday special, kind of like a roundup of the week, maybe an additional quick look at a brochure, but generally a much shorter episode. Of course, the week just gone by, we looked at a few different brochures, didn't we? Monday looked at the Citroen XM, car of the year 1990. Always loved big Citroens, and that was a big brochure to go with it, a beautiful brochure. I'm glad a lot of people liked that one. And then on Wednesday we looked at the Nissan Bluebird, a fabulous car, but kind of like a car that flew under the radar for a lot of you at the time, but you know, extremely reliable long-term buy. They really did produce something that was extremely reliable, not exciting to drive, but generally what most people really wanted, just a reliable vehicle at the time. And then on Friday we looked at the Curvy Ford F-150, and kind of like we're going to just quickly look at a continuation of that curvy theme. So let's have a look at a couple of brochures. So this is kind of like a continuation really. This isn't the same brochure that we actually looked at yesterday, but it's still talking about the 1997 Ford F-Series, when the Ford F-150 kind of like went a little bit curvy with both the regular cab and the super cab. This is more of a sort of like little bit of a flyer style leaflet, but you'll understand in a moment why we're continuing to look at it. Let me maybe take that light off to get rid of that reflection, because that is an unusual shot, isn't it? You got 6 people in that super cab. 3-door at this time, remember. We only had that rear door on one side, but you know, you'd have to be really good friends. I wouldn't like to be in that situation, to be honest with you, but they're trying to show you that you can fit 6 in there if you're really desperate, I guess. But really what I wanted to show you was on the back page, other Fords at the time, and in particular this, the Ford Taurus. So here is the 1996 Ford Taurus, and you can see how curvy the Taurus went as well. I wasn't in North America in 1996, but I would imagine it would have been quite a controversial design really. This is the only picture it's showing in this little flyer, unfortunately, but just to compare how, you know, the Ford F-150 went curvy, they were trying to go curvy with the cars as well, weren't they? I'll put another little bit of a picture of the front view of it so you can see, you know, these unusual headlights, and you know, compare it to the previous Taurus and the Taurus after it, in fact, because you know, it was kind of like just a time period of Ford when they were playing around with these designs. And then if we look at the Taurus after that, we've gone back to this big square looking car. But we're not alone, are we, in the US Fords trying to go curvy. We had this, didn't we? The new Ford Scorpio in the UK, and what a controversial design that was. The Ford Scorpio. This would have been the first time we've got the actual name, the Scorpio. Yeah, we've used it on Granada top of the range models, but we've actually got the new Ford Scorpio. In Europe, actually, this is kind of like the Mark II version, as the Granada was the Scorpio, etc, etc. But let's not go into all of that. Let's just look at this, the Ford Scorpio. A very controversial car, wasn't it? I mean, the press went to town with it, really slated it, and obviously really affected sales of the car, so much so this came out in 94. 97 they tried to tone it down a bit, darken the headlamps, you know, tone down that grille, the back, trying to make it less bulbous, you know, but it didn't really work, did it? It was just so slated in the UK that sales were affected hugely. Incidentally, this aubergine colour is actually my favourite Ford colour. I do particularly like that. I personally don't really hate the Scorpio. I never really hated the Scorpio. I think a lot of people were influenced by the press at the time to also hate the car as well. Yeah, it wasn't, you'd never say it was a beautiful car. And do I prefer the Granada that came before it? Yes, I do, but I don't hate it like a lot of people did. And particularly if you bought one on the second-hand market, you got a bit of a steal really, because used car prices were also dropped hugely on this car, again because of the press and how slated it was for its looks. Let's look at the rear of it as well while we're here. There's the rear. I never minded the rear. I think the front I was a bit in two minds about, but I never disliked the rear like a lot of people did. Again in this lovely aubergine colour. It's a very reflective brochure, this one, by the way. So yeah, it was a controversial car. In fact, if you didn't really like the rear of the Scorpio, you could have just got the Estate, because you know Ford typically at very slow to do anything with Estates. They always kind of like just kept the rear end, so you know what we would know in the UK as the Granada is still kind of the rear end of the Scorpio. But there we go. I just wanted to throw this in, and no doubt we'll probably have a look at this brochure sometime in the future on a Ford Friday. And again, if you look at Ford AU, you know, Fords of Australia around this time, they also started going very curvy and putting these like very curvy headlamps. So there we go, a bit of a look at some of the 90s Ford's designs of trying to go all curvy. I do particularly remember the Ford Scorpio. Jeremy Clarkson, we all know what he's like. He went crazy on it. You know, why would you design something to look like a frog? Yeah, etc, etc. I'm sure them sort of comments put a lot of people off, even though, you know, looking back on it, it wasn't really wildly ugly. It wasn't an attractive car, but it wasn't horrendous, was it? Well, in my opinion. But let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Like I say, we'll probably do a full brochure review of that Scorpio at some point. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do like and subscribe. We'll see you very soon. Take care and goodbye.